David Murphy first appeared in Season 4 of 90 Day Fiancé, Before the 90 Days. A Las Vegas-based computer programmer, David introduced himself as someone who had spent years in an online relationship with a woman from Ukraine named Lana. His storyline was unlike any other: 7 long years of online conversations, multiple attempts to meet in person, and several disappointments that tested his patience. Viewers across the world watched as David traveled repeatedly, only to be left waiting at train stations, restaurants, and meeting spots, never finding Lana there. This led many to question whether Lana was even real. Social media buzzed with theories: was David being catfished, or was he simply refusing to face reality? Despite the doubts, David held firm to his belief. He invested not just time but also his savings, and more importantly, his emotions, into proving that Lana existed. His perseverance became the central point of discussion throughout his season. And then, in one of the most unforgettable moments in the franchise's history, Lana appeared on screen. Against all odds, she was real. Their meeting was awkward, filled with nervous energy and mixed emotions, but it was undeniable proof that David's faith had not been misplaced. Though the relationship had its complications, it gave viewers a story they would never forget. David's storyline was one of persistence and resilience. While many criticized him for being too trusting or too stubborn, others saw a man who simply wanted love and was willing to go further than most to find it. His quiet demeanor, poker-faced expressions, and relentless hope made him a standout personality. Unlike many other cast members, David wasn't loud, dramatic, or chasing attention. He was steady, soft-spoken, and determined, which made his presence unique. After the show ended, David's engagement to Lana eventually ended as well. He later confirmed that they had broken things off, but he continued to speak respectfully about her. Unlike many public breakups in the 90 Day Fiancé world, theirs did not devolve into drama or bitterness. Instead, David seemed to treat the experience as a meaningful chapter of his life and moved forward with quiet dignity. In the years after his season, David largely stayed out of the spotlight. While many former stars used the franchise for continued fame, David chose privacy. He remained in Las Vegas, living a simple life after retiring from his long career in the computer industry. He occasionally surfaced in interviews or online updates, but he never chased attention or controversy. For fans, this made him even more respectable. He wasn't a celebrity seeking headlines, he was simply David, the man they remembered from one unforgettable season. News of his passing at 66 now feels like the end of an era. David Murphy was more than just a reality TV personality, he was a symbol of how deeply people desire connection, even if it means risking heartbreak. His persistence in love, his willingness to keep trying despite failure, and his calm nature reminded viewers that at the heart of every reality show are real people with real feelings. David's journey showed us that love doesn't always fit into neat boxes. It's not always smooth, and it doesn't always make sense to others. But it's real. And his story, no matter how unconventional, resonated with millions of people around the world. After stepping away from the cameras, David Murphy chose a life of privacy and simplicity. Unlike many of his fellow castmates who embraced the world of reality TV fame, David preferred to live quietly in Las Vegas. His days were spent enjoying retirement after decades of working as a computer programmer. Away from the drama and spotlight, he maintained a routine life, far from the chaos of reality TV. For fans, David's silence was both a mystery and a mark of respect. He was not someone chasing headlines or attention. His story had been told, and he seemed content to leave it there. Yet whenever his name came up in fan groups, he was always remembered as one of the most unique personalities in 90 Day Fiancé history. David's relationship with Lana remained a subject of curiosity long after the show ended. Their engagement, which came as a shock to many viewers, eventually ended. Still, David never spoke harshly about her. Instead, he acknowledged the reality of the situation with dignity. He admitted that things didn't work out but never treated it as a scandal. That approach reflected his character, calm, private, and respectful. In the larger picture of the franchise, David Murphy became an unlikely icon. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't dramatic, and he wasn't constantly in front of the camera. But he represented something bigger, the willingness to take risks for love, even when the world is watching and judging. His quiet persistence made him unforgettable. As news of his passing spreads, it is clear that David's story touched people more deeply than anyone could have expected. His search for love, his emotional vulnerability, and his relentless hope made viewers reflect on their own lives. Reality television often exaggerates drama, but David's story showed that behind every headline and every episode, there are human beings simply trying to find happiness. At 66, his passing is a reminder of how quickly time moves and how deeply people can impact others, even with limited screen time. David Murphy was not the most famous reality star. He did not seek to be. Yet his memory will live on because his story was authentic. For many, David will always be remembered riding his scooter through Las Vegas, talking about his online relationship, and defending his hope against all doubts. These moments, simple yet powerful, became etched into the memories of viewers around the world. His journey reminds us that love is complicated. It doesn't always end in fairy tales, and it doesn't always make sense. But it's worth chasing, even when the odds are stacked against us. That was David's message, whether he intended it or not. As we look back on his life, we see a man who faced challenges with patience, who held on to his dreams with strength, and who lived his final years in peace. That legacy will stay with the fans of 90 Day Fiancé forever. David Murphy's time may have ended, but the story he left behind will continue to inspire conversations for years to come. In a franchise filled with drama, chaos, and heartbreak, his journey stood apart. It was not about fame, but about hope. Not about spectacle, but about sincerity. David Murphy's passing at the age of 66 is not just a piece of reality TV news, it is the closing chapter of a story that touched countless lives. To truly understand his journey, we need to look beyond the cameras and the short season he appeared on. David was a man shaped by discipline and structure. Before his television fame, he worked for decades as a computer programmer. Those who knew him described him as meticulous, intelligent, and sometimes even a perfectionist. This structured approach to life could be seen on the show, his planning, his repeated travels, and his determination to prove that his relationship was real. While some saw it as stubbornness, it was also a reflection of a man who believed in finishing what he started. His calm and quiet personality stood in sharp contrast to the fiery, dramatic characters that often dominate 90 Day Fiancé. David was not a man of many words. He rarely raised his voice or created chaos. Instead, he displayed poise, sometimes to the point where audiences could not believe how calm he disappointed. That patience became his trademark. When viewers think of David, many remember him sitting in front of his computer, communicating online, year after year. Others remember him waiting endlessly at train stations, holding flowers, hoping Lana would appear. Those images were powerful because they spoke to something universal, the hope that one day, love would be returned. Outside of the show, David enjoyed a modest and private life in Las Vegas. He wasn't chasing glamour or Hollywood fame. Reports suggest he liked the simple things, riding his scooter around the city, enjoying quiet evenings, and staying connected with a small circle of friends. For him, life wasn't about chasing headlines. It was about stability and peace. After the show, David gave occasional interviews, often to clarify rumors about his relationship with Lana. He confirmed that while they were engaged for a short time, it ultimately did not last. Yet he never spoke bitterly, never insulted her, and never portrayed himself as a victim. Instead, he acknowledged the truth and carried on. That sense of maturity and dignity set him apart from many reality stars who thrive on drama long after their episodes air. In the broader scope of 90 Day Fiancé, David's presence changed the way audiences viewed online relationships. His story highlighted the risks and struggles of long-distance love, but it also showed the genuine hope behind those relationships. It was not a gimmick or a script, it was the real story of a man chasing love, even if it seemed impossible. The lessons David leaves behind are worth remembering. His persistence reminds us not to give up on what matters to us. His calmness shows us that even in disappointment, dignity can be maintained. His willingness to take risks for love demonstrates that sometimes, the biggest leaps in life are worth it, even if they don't lead to a perfect ending. At 66, David's passing leaves a quiet but meaningful mark on television history. He was not a loud celebrity, but he will be remembered as one of the most authentic personalities to ever appear on 90 Day Fiancé. His story may have been unconventional, but it was real, and that reality is why it resonated so deeply with fans. As we close this reflection, it's important to honor David not just as a reality TV star, but as a man who lived his truth. He chased love in the way he believed was right, and he did so with patience and sincerity. That is a legacy worth celebrating. David Murphy's journey on 90 Day Fiancé was more than just entertainment, it was a study of human emotions, patience, and the need for connection. When people tuned into his season, they didn't just see a man chasing a woman. They saw the struggles, the disappointments, and the unshakable hope that define the human experience. Many fans were fascinated by David's resilience. Trip after trip, rejection after rejection, he kept believing. Psychologists might say that David embodied what is called optimistic perseverance, the mindset that no matter how many times you fail, the next attempt might succeed. While some criticized him for being blind to red flags, others admired that he had the courage to hope when everyone else had given up. His storyline also raised awareness about online relationships. Long before dating apps became the global norm, David showed the challenges of maintaining a digital romance. Communication barriers, trust issues, financial strain, his story highlighted all of it in real time. Yet through it all, David never portrayed himself as a victim. He kept his dignity, even when the audience doubted him. The impact of his season on the 90 Day Fiancé franchise was massive. David's arc became one of the most talked about of all time. It sparked online debates, endless discussions on forums, and hours of coverage on YouTube and podcasts. People questioned whether he was right or wrong, but one thing was certain, no one could forget him. In a series filled with dramatic personalities, David Murphy stood apart as quiet but unforgettable. After the camera stopped rolling, David's choice to step out of the spotlight showed his true character. While others cashed in on the fame, he simply moved on with his life. That humility only added to the respect people had for him. He wasn't chasing a brand or merc. Colt Johnson's journey on 90 Day Fiancé has been nothing short of unforgettable. From his whirlwind romance with Larissa dos Santos Lima to his relationship with Jess Caroline, and later his surprising marriage to Vanessa Guerra, Colt has given fans countless memorable storylines. But after years of cameras following his every move, the big question remains, will Colt return to 90 Day Fiancé, or is he ready to leave reality TV behind for good? In a recent candid conversation, Colt admitted that his relationship with the franchise has been complicated. On one hand, the show gave him recognition, unforgettable experiences, and a platform that most people could only dream of. On the other hand, the constant criticism, fan judgment, and exposure of his private life have left him with emotional scars. Colt revealed that he often struggles with how the public perceives him, admitting that fans only see a fraction of his life, and editing sometimes paints him in a very different light than reality. Colt also addressed the toll the show has taken on his personal relationships. His marriage to Vanessa, which fans saw play out on screen, faced major challenges, not only because of their personal differences but also because of the pressures that came with fame. Every argument, every disagreement, and every misstep became public fodder. Vanessa herself has said that being part of the show was more stressful than she ever imagined. She admitted that she sometimes wished she and Colt had never signed up for it. But Colt doesn't deny the positives. He acknowledges that 90 Day Fiancé gave him opportunities he never would have had otherwise. The platform allowed him to travel, connect with fans around the globe, and even rebuild certain aspects of his life. Yet, in this new stage of his journey, Colt is asking himself, is it worth it to continue, or is it time to finally step away? Colt explained that after years in the spotlight, he craves something more private and grounded. He hinted that his focus right now is on building stability, repairing relationships that may have been hurt by fame, and focusing on personal growth rather than public entertainment. That said, he didn't shut the door completely. Colt teased that if the right storyline, project, or spin-off came along, something that truly felt authentic, he might be willing to return. For fans who have followed his dramatic love stories, from Larissa's explosive outbursts to his clashes with his mother Debbie's protective instincts, this kind of statement feels bittersweet. On one hand, many fans want to see Colt return and bring his unique brand of awkward humor and unexpected drama. On the other hand, supporters also recognize that maybe Colt deserves peace and a break from the constant scrutiny. We also can't talk about Colt without mentioning his complicated dynamic with his mom, Debbie Johnson. Debbie became a fan favorite herself, with her no-nonsense attitude and strong opinions about her son's relationships. Their close bond often caused friction with Colt's partners, sparking endless debates online. Now, Colt admits that stepping away from the cameras could help him redefine his bond with Debbie in a healthier way, without millions of viewers watching and judging every interaction. But let's not forget, 90 Day Fiancé is a franchise that thrives on comebacks. We've seen stars leave, only to return in spin-offs like Happily Ever After, The Single Life, or Pillow Talk. Colt himself has already been part of several versions of the show, and TLC knows that his presence brings in viewership. So while Colt talks about moving on, there's always the possibility of producers finding a way to bring him back. And the million-dollar question is, what does Colt's wife, Vanessa, think about this? According to Colt, Vanessa has been very clear that she's hesitant about more TV exposure. Their relationship was already fragile at times, and she doesn't want added pressure. Colt respects her wishes but also understands the allure of the spotlight. This push and pull may ultimately determine whether Colt takes another step with TLC or officially closes that chapter. As we wrap up this first half of our deep dive, one thing is certain, Colt Johnson remains one of the most recognizable faces in the 90 Day Fiancé universe. His journey reflects the highs and lows of reality TV fame, from explosive drama to raw vulnerability. But now, Colt is standing at a crossroads, deciding between the chaos of the franchise and the peace of a quieter life. Colt has been very honest about the fact that fame isn't everything. For a long time, he admits he measured his value by how many people were watching, commenting, and talking about him. But now, after years of public scrutiny, he realizes that real happiness might come from stepping away. Colt says he wants to focus more on personal goals that have nothing to do with cameras, producers, or online gossip. So what does that mean? Colt has hinted at exploring creative projects behind the scenes. He's interested in writing, technology, and even hinted at possibly working on independent media projects that let him control the narrative. Unlike 90 Day Fiancé, where editing often shaped how he appeared, Colt wants to tell his story his own way. This could mean podcasts, online content, or even something as simple as stepping into a private job outside of entertainment. Another big part of Colt's future is his relationship with Vanessa Guerra. After their rocky start, their marriage has faced ups and downs, but Colt has made it clear he values her more than any TV deal. He openly admits that reality TV has a way of tearing couples apart, and he doesn't want history to repeat itself. Vanessa has stood by him through difficult times, including his recent personal challenges and injuries, and Colt recognizes that protecting their marriage is more important than chasing another round of fame. Interestingly, Colt also spoke about how being on the show helped him grow as a person, even if it was painful. He admitted that without the cameras, he might never have faced his flaws so directly. He acknowledges his mistakes, whether it was how he handled relationships, or how he sometimes came across as cold or detached, and says he's working hard to become a more empathetic partner. For fans, this new reflective version of Colt feels very different from the one we saw in the early seasons. The Colt who clashed with Larissa, who had awkward confrontations with Jess, and who struggled under the weight of his mother's influence is not the same Colt speaking today. He seems calmer, more grounded, and perhaps ready to truly move forward. But of course, fans of 90 Day Fiancé are split. Some say they'll miss Colt if he walks away completely. After all, love him or hate him, he brought unforgettable storylines to the franchise. Others argue that Colt has had enough screen time and deserves to live a normal life without constant criticism. Online forums are buzzing with debates. Should Colt step away for good, or make one last return? Even producers may have mixed feelings. TLC knows that Colt's presence always sparks reactions, whether positive or negative. But if he's truly done, the franchise will need to move on with fresh faces while fans hold on to his legacy as one of the most iconic personalities in the show's history. One fascinating question is whether Colt might return in a completely different role. Could he appear not as a participant in the dating chaos, but as a commentator, a guest on Pillow Talk, or even a behind-the-scene true? Colt himself has left that door slightly open, suggesting that if he ever came back, it would need to be in a way that respected his growth and boundaries. And then there's Debbie. Colt's mom has her own storyline now, having found love and built her life outside of Colt's shadow. Their relationship has shifted dramatically, and Colt admits he's proud of her independence. But the two still share a close bond, and some fans wonder if we might see them together on screen again in the future. So, what's next for Colt Johnson? While he hasn't given fans a concrete answer, his candid reflections show that he's carefully weighing his options. He's focusing on healing, personal growth, and maintaining his marriage, while also considering whether reality TV still has a place in his life. One thing is certain, Colt is not the same person we first met years ago. He's older, wiser, and more aware of what truly matters. As fans, we can respect his decision, whether he chooses peace and privacy or surprises us with a return. In the unpredictable world of 90 Day Fiancé, nothing is ever truly final. For now, Colt Johnson is carving his own path, one step at a time. And with that, we close our two-part deep dive into Colt's revelations about his future. Whether you loved him, hated him, or simply couldn't look away, Colt Johnson has left an undeniable mark on the 90 Day Fiancé universe. And no matter what comes next, fans will always remember the Las Vegas man with the cats, the complicated love stories, and the journey that kept millions of viewers hooked. When Colt Johnson first appeared on 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After, fans didn't quite know what to make of him. His awkward humor, his unusual relationship dynamic with his mother Debbie, and his whirlwind romance with Larissa immediately put him in the spotlight. Some viewers found him relatable and entertaining, while others criticized him harshly. Over time, Colt became one of those polarizing figures. You either loved watching him or loved to hate him. Now that Colt is speaking candidly about his future, fans are taking to social media to share their thoughts. On platforms like Reddit, Instagram, and TikTok, the reactions are split. Some fans argue that Colt deserves peace, pointing out that he has already contributed years of drama, entertainment, and unforgettable storylines. They believe he has nothing left to prove. Others, however, insist that the franchise simply isn't the same without him. They argue that his brand of dry humor, unpredictability, and awkward charm are irreplaceable. What's interesting is how Colt's storylines impacted not just viewers, but the entire franchise itself. 90 Day Fiancé thrives on variety, different couples, different cultures, different journeys. But Colt's segments always stood out because they brought multiple layers of drama, cultural clashes, family dynamics, trust issues, and explosive confrontations. His time with Larissa brought some of the most talked about moments in the show's history, from police calls to fiery arguments. Later, his relationships with Jess and Vanessa highlighted a different side of him, more vulnerable, more uncertain, and often more relatable. TLC producers know that personalities like Colt keep fans talking long after the episodes air. That's why his possible departure is such a big deal. Losing Colt means losing a guaranteed source of buzz. But it also raises the question, can 90 Day Fiancé evolve beyond its most famous cast members? Some argue yes, new couples always emerge, and drama is never in short supply. Others argue no, that iconic personalities like Colt are the backbone of the franchise, and their absence leaves a gap that's hard to fill. Another factor to consider is how Colt himself is shaping his legacy. Unlike some stars who cling to fame no matter what, Colt is carefully deciding how he wants to be remembered. He knows that reality TV can immortalize someone in ways that are not always flattering. For Colt, stepping away could mean protecting his image, avoiding burnout, and building a legacy that isn't defined solely by drama. But let's not forget, this is Colt Johnson we're talking about. He has a history of surprising fans. Just when viewers thought he was gone for good, he came back with new storylines, new challenges, and new controversies.